Good Monday morning, students. It's time for history, and we are going to be doing history number 5. Now this week you only have one lesson, so only one teaching because there's a lot of reading. So this video is not going to be very long. So on this video, I've given you, or on this video, in this teaching, you have a packet. It's got copies out of your rudiments books, and so you can see it on the very top. It says rudiments right there, and it's from pages 45 to 54. So in order to answer the questions, you must read through the work packet. So don't try and just answer the questions because you will probably get them wrong. A lot of these you have to reason through. You have to put two and two together. You got to think about things and then write down your answers in a clear way. If your answers are not expressed clearly, then they're going to be points deducted. So make sure that you do a good job of expressing it. And then also there's one section, I think it's question number 3 especially, that you need to read this and you need to understand exactly what he's saying, because I want you to explain in your own words what Dr. Campbell is saying about the institutions of Moses, okay? And what he did with that. Now notice here, for this moral law, these questions right here, you have to look under Webster's 1828 at law. Look for his definition of law. As a noun, okay? Well, let's not even put that right now. Just look at law, because Noah Webster actually breaks it down and he defines these 3 types. Now notice what it says. It says define, that means write the definition, but then also describe. Write a brief description of what that means. What does the moral law mean? What does the ritual law mean? And what does the civil law mean? So that's what you need to do on there. Now, a lot of you last week skipped your back sides of your pages. You got to look on the back of the page to make sure that you are not forgetting anything. If you get a paper and you give it back to me and half of it's empty, that shows me that you did not watch the entire video and you were not listening. So never leave anything blank, because every single video covers it. And if I don't cover something that's on the page, I will let you know. On the back here, you're just going to use Webster's 1828 to define those words as well. All right. Notice number 7. Why was Moses not ready to be a deliverer while he was still in Egypt? And what did he do to prove that? Okay. Question number 8. What was the result of Moses spending 40 years in the land of Midian? How was he changed? There's a good answer for that in there that you're going to have to put a couple ideas together to formulate the sentence. Number 11, define jurisprudence as a noun. So look up what that means. All right, so this is what you're going to do today. Also, I want you to look over your 10 commandments this week. If we were in school, back in class, you would actually be having a test about it. But read through these carefully. You have the whole week to do this, so don't wait till the last minute. Go ahead and start reading it now. You know, there's 14 questions. Split it up, do 4 a day, you know, and you'll be done in time. But make sure that you read over all of it. So remember, there's 3 kinds of laws that Moses is defining. There's the moral law, the ritual law, and the civil law. Okay? Now, we live by and we adjust our lives according to his moral law and the civil law. The ritual law is no longer applicable to us as Christians because those are fulfilled in Jesus. And they were a testimony of pointing to Jesus. So as you read through that, I want you to think about it, because we have to understand the origins of law. What was the purpose of law? Now remember, whenever God creates something, there's a law to go with it, an order of operations. When God created the earth, he created the earth with laws, with rules. When he created man with rules. We look in Genesis, it says be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. He gives us the rule of dominion over all the plants and over all the animals and the elements. We're supposed to take dominion of that. Those are rules. Those are laws that God set up. God also has laws for how we interact with one another. God has laws for how the government is supposed to operate. The Bible has laws about how church is supposed to operate. The Bible has laws about how nations operate with other nations. It's called the law of nations. And then there's the law of nature. The law of nature is that law that God has placed upon our hearts. It's in our conscience that we know. When a little child steals something, what do they normally do? They stick it behind their back. Did anyone tell them that stealing was wrong? They should be ashamed of stealing, that it's something to be hidden? No, because that's a law of nature on their hearts. It's written on there. They intrinsically know that stealing is wrong. We know that slavery is wrong. We know that murder is wrong. We know that lying and bearing false witness is wrong. Intrinsically, it's in our hearts. It's a law of nature that God wrote upon our hearts. But God, so good as He is, He not only gives us that knowledge in our hearts and on our conscience, but He gives us His revealed word, the Bible, which corroborates those things. And we're going to get into the ideas of the Bible later, but the Bible corroborates those things that God has already put in our hearts, the law of nature that He wrote. So even when He created man with the knowledge with these laws, right? Remember when Abel was killed? Had God given the 10 Commandments to everybody yet? No, this was 1,000 years, 1,500 years before Moses, or more. But Cain was still held accountable for the murder of Abel, wasn't he? Even though there was no law that said, "Thou shalt not kill," murder was still wrong because it's in the law of nature. Man should not kill man. Only God has the right to take life. Now, God does give the right to the state in order to punish evildoers, but man against man, unless you're defending your own life, you're not allowed to take the life of someone else. Okay? And we'll get into a bunch of those biblical ideas when we get to Blackstone, probably in October or November. So that's going to be very interesting when we start reading about that. So the origin of the law is very important, and we want to make sure we understand the law that God gave to Moses and how it's divided and how it is applicable to today and which parts of it are applicable. So it's going to give you that idea. So make sure you read these pages very carefully. Feel free to highlight. At the end of this week, when you turn in all your work, make sure you bring back your work, your pages, and make sure you write your name. I should have put name up here. Make sure you write your name on there so that I can be sure to get in your right binder. Write your name so I don't take points off your paper for not having your name. And some of you need to remember to write your date. If you have any questions or you need help with any of these questions, feel free to give me a call. And this is the only video we're having this week because it's a large work packet. All right, we'll talk to you next week.